Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to Digipath Tutorials. Today we have another interesting case for discussion, a case of isolated mucormycosis of the parotid gland. We had a 47-year-old diabetic male who presented with a large abscess on the right side of the face for the past 1 month associated with fever and malaise. Fine needle aspiration had been carried out on the patient and had been reported as mild silentinitis in the outside laboratory. During debridement, the right parotid was found to be infected and pus was seen oozing out from the gland. A right parodontectomy was done. Grossly, we had a specimen of the parotid. Here you can appreciate the normal salivary gland. The overlying capsule was thick and ragged, and there was a large abscess cavity. The abscess cavity had a shaggy, irregular wall, and it was filled with a lot of friable and necrotic material. We took multiple sections from the parotid. So here on low power magnification, we can appreciate the capsule of the parotid and the normal serous acini of the parotid. Overlying the capsule, we can notice that there is a sort of fibrinous exudate. When we went to higher power, we noticed various structures entrapped within the fibrinous content. These were actually the fungal hyphae. We can appreciate that most of them appear to be broad and aseptate. Many of them appear to be folded, wrinkled, and collapsed. A Pass stain was performed and this highlighted the fungal hyphae. In further sections, we noticed a granulomatous reaction within the substance of the parotid. And within the granuloma, on higher power, we can appreciate more fungal hyphae. Here they appear to be more wrinkled and collapsed, and these refractile sort of structures are actually the fungal hyphae. Based on our findings, we made a diagnosis of isolated mucormycosis of the parotid gland. We call this as a case of isolated mucormycosis because this patient did not have any other cutaneous, rhino-orbitocerebral or pulmonary clinical features. Mucormycosis is a rare, potentially life-threatening, intro-invasive fungal infection. Mucor belongs to the class of fungi known as Zygomycetes and the order Mucorrheids. Fungal infections in the Mucorrheids order are caused most commonly by species in the genera Rhizopus, followed by Mucor and Rhizomucor. The most common manifestations are rhino-orbitocerebral infections, followed by pulmonary, cutaneous, disseminated, and gastrointestinal infections. To date, very few cases of mucormycosis involving the parotid gland have been reported. The risk factors for mucor infection include immunocompromised states such as hematological malignancy, a bone marrow or a peripheral stem cell or a solid organ transplant, neutropenia, diabetes mellitus, corticosteroids, deferoxamine therapy for iron overload, and mucocutaneous trauma. Mucormycosis in the immunocompetent host is rare and is often related to trauma. Now, these fungi are widely distributed in the nature. They are found mostly in areas like moist soil and decaying organic matter, and infection can be acquired by two routes, either by exposure to their spores through inhalation or inoculation through the mucocutaneous trauma sites. Parotid involvement by mucormycosis can be part of disseminated rhinocerebral cutaneous involvement of head and neck or an isolated infection. Most cases of parotid mucormycosis present with a rapidly progressive swelling of the face, Some patients may show signs of facial nerve paralysis. The invasive opportunistic infections of mucor are characterized by hyphal invasion of vessel walls, thrombosis, which leads to ischemia and infarction of the contiguous tissue segments. And this angioinvasive nature may also lead to hematogenous dissemination of the fungi. Microscopically, the lesions are characterized by coagulative necrosis and neutrophilic infiltration. Rarely, a granulomatous reaction can be observed in localized, indolent, or partially treated infections, like we noticed in our case. The hyphae of mucor have a characteristic appearance. They are typically broad, thin-walled, and pleomorphic with irregular, non-parallel contours. The branches arise haphazardly, often at right angles to the parent hyphae. The septae can be found in some of the hyphae, though most of the hyphae appear non-septate. Because the hyphae have little structural stability, they are often folded, twisted, wrinkled, or collapsed. Mucormycosis organisms can easily be seen on H&E sections. You can do special stains like PAS or GMS. The differential diagnosis of mucor is often made with Aspergillus, but Aspergillus species are the hyphae are thinner, septate with regular branching, and they branch at acute angles, 45 degrees as opposed to 90. The prognosis of this infection is poor, rapidly progressive, and fatal unless it is diagnosed and treated early. The successful treatment of mucormycosis depends on early recognition of infection and control of the underlying disease, coupled with radical debridement or excision of devitalized tissue and systemic antifungal chemotherapy with amphotericin B. So, the take home messages from this case would be that we need to keep unusual possibilities in mind when examining biopsies, and a high index of suspicion is necessary for diagnosis of infectious agent. For example, in our case, the patient was a diabetic, and we should always take care that we do not miss fungal infections in these patients. We have many more digital slide sets available on our server, so please have a look at them. Thank you.